Yeah, Alex, the secondary was pretty clearly hit pretty hard with everything that went on this week. How big of a challenge was that, and the way that they were able to perform? What does that say about the depth that you've started building over there this year?
Yeah, and I would start with the guys that played in the game. It's Jeremiah Cradell. Obviously, his role was expanded this week. Turner Yale had to play multiple safety spots. Trey Norwood was a guy that wasn't able to practice all week, and then comes back end of the week and had to, play nickel and strong safety. Rob Barnes is a guy that I'd really want to highlight. As a guy that has obviously played some football, some elite football in the past. Have worked him at linebackers. One of those things from a depth standpoint, there was no chance that we could get through this week and certainly this game without Rob playing safety, and he didn't bat an eye. And so I'd highlight him. And so, it was certainly going to be a challenge. We knew we were going to be thin, but I thought preparation-wise, I thought the guys did a nice job over the course of the week. I think they handled it well. The ball was in the air a lot tonight. Was that part of their adjustment? They being Baylor, to see the depletion in the secondary. Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. Because they do like to throw the ball around. But guys held up pretty well, and we also put a lot on our front that way. They had to step up. And so, no, I certainly give those guys a ton of credit, and we'll look forward to getting some of the guys back over this next week.
Appreciate it.
Jason Kersey.
Sure.
Yeah, Alex. I mean, can you just kind of describe what this week was like to coach? I mean, you come off the game getting postponed last week. You have all these players out, coaches out. I mean, what was this week like getting ready for this game? How difficult was it?
Well, it was extremely unique. And actually, myself had a false positive on Monday, and so couldn't rejoin these guys after a couple negative tests on Tuesday and Wednesday. And I don't know the science behind all the stuff, but had a rapid test false positive on Monday, so couldn't rejoin the group until Thursday. Had to do the deeper stuff to confirm that was not positive, and so that was coaching on Zoom a lot this week. And so those guys, again, now you got safeties out over the course of the week, and oh, by the way, the defense coordinator's not there beginning of the week, and so yelled at the computer screen a lot, and but also give the our coaching staff a lot of credit. Obviously, Coach Stoops was with us as well. Which is, it doesn't get any cooler than that, quite frankly. And unfortunately, a couple of those days I wasn't here, so the one time he's around us, didn't get a chance to enjoy it as much. But in any event, no, I just the entire coaching staff, give them a lot of credit, and certainly the players. And the nice thing is when you're watching that thing on Zoom over the course of, again, Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday, watching practice, and you're saying that's the defense at Oklahoma, and I coach those guys. And I'm not there, and it still looks like the defense at Oklahoma, so was thrilled with that. Again, you don't want to be in that situation, but in any event, no, very unique week and a very unique game to cap this thing off. So very fortunate to get a win.
Joe Bettner.
Alex, obviously didn't have Nick Benito tonight. I'm curious just with the guys that stepped up in his place. What did you make of their performance? Did it live up to your standard of what you expect out of the defensive front?
Yeah, I mean, we'll watch it. I certainly think we had some negative plays. I think maybe 3 sacks if I saw right. I think there was more opportunities. There's a couple opportunities where we didn't get the guy. Where does the ball carrier quarterback on the ground? We're going to find a way to do that. A couple penalties I was disappointed with, specifically in our front. But no, I thought overall just the way the night went with 56 passes, 82 plays. You got 21 third down. That's a lot. That's a tall order for like we're talking about a depleted defense. And so no, I thought John Michael Terry's been a steady guy for us for a long time. Did a nice job. Joseph Wette got some reps. You saw Isaiah Thomas. If he's not the Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year, I'm not sure who should be in place of him. But another good night. And so I certainly think guys stepped up across the board. And there's a standard by which we play the game up front, and that's something that we're continuing to build and kind of establishing that standard still, I believe. But no, I thought certainly guys stepped up.
Kerry Murdoch.
Yeah, Alex, you've had nights where you've missed a guy here or there, but to miss as many starters as you did tonight, and then to have the offense, just not put up a 40 spot or whatever, is there a little bit of you that's like surprised that they played that well, missing that many guys?
Well, it's a good question, and you want to pound the table and say not surprised at all. I mean, I think what I would say is you saw a group of guys that are taking more and more ownership and accountability in their own performance, and that's not just the first team defense. Those are individuals that get reps on Saturdays that say, okay, once again, we're establishing a standard by how we play each week, and we've talked about this in the past. It is 1 week evaluations, but okay, tonight my role has changed. Maybe it's expanded. Maybe I'm playing in a different spot. But again, I think you see guys taking pride in the fact that this is the expectation. The expectation is when you take the field with this group that you're supposed to perform at a certain level. And so I don't know that surprise is the right word, but proud is certainly comes to mind. I think the other thing that I would say is it's a step in the right direction to have everything you just mentioned and walk out of the stadium and saying, we may not have played our best football, but certainly it was winning football despite a lot of circumstances. But a little bit less looking at the scoreboard, a little bit more worrying about our own performance, and that's a positive.
Okay, let's go to James Hale.
Alex, the Robert Barnes thing is kind of fascinating to me because you guys moved him to linebacker. He built his body into a linebacker. He played safety early. So can you kind of get into your conversation with him when you first approached him and said, hey, man, we got some situations and we need you to move back to safety this week?
Yeah, and it wasn't much of one. I mean, I think, honestly, that maybe it was Sunday night. I guess it had to have been Sunday night. Sent him a text message, hey, think about putting you at safety this week. And he came back and said, I'm all for it. And we let it rip. And so got the start tonight because he earned it. We'll talk about what his position moving forward is again best for the team, number one, and then number two, what's best for him. And that's one of the moves too. Is you're constantly one of the jobs as a coach is trying to get number one, the 11 best guys on the field, but also okay, what's the best position for these individuals? And I use the example of a basketball team, a shooting guard moves to point guard, and all of a sudden an offense takes off, for instance, on the basketball floor. So so you're constantly trying to look at those things, and he's one of those guys because of his size that we took a look at the linebacker, and again we'll see where he goes from there. But it speaks volumes of who he is, and couldn't be more proud of him. And he doesn't need to hear me say that, but certainly proud of him, and I certainly think he's proud of himself.
How did he do tonight?
I thought he did a nice job. You watch the video, like all those things, and take a look at it. But no, I know one open field tackle that he made, but by no stretch of the imagination was it looking at each individual rep and seeing something that stood out from a negative standpoint on the sideline. So no, we needed him, and he stepped up for this football team.
Thanks, man.
Brandon Drum.
Yeah, Alex, kind of sticking in the secondary, the play of DJ Graham, a guy that could play both sides of the ball for you guys, you guys recruited him as an athlete, both sides of the ball. What do you think of his play so far, his growth throughout the season? Obviously, he made a big play again tonight, several of them. What's your overall take on him? I
think, number one, we need to stop talking about him as an athlete and the ability to play both sides of the football, and I appreciate you if you did that. He's a corner. He's going to be an elite one. He really is. He's in the right spot, I'm telling you, and I think in his core he believes that. You see ball skills that a lot of defensive backs just simply don't have, he's just again scratching the surface. And Coach Manny does a great job with that position room, but we couldn't be more excited about him. And he's one of those guys that one of the communications we've had with him is he's got to practice better. He shows flashes in practice. I'll say that, okay, because we're talking about DJ. Freshmen have a tendency to be that, where they Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday of high school football in terms of, well, you're the best guy on the field. How stressful is your Tuesday? Well, when you come to our level and you're playing corner against our offense, on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, right? If you can have a bad day like that, right? And so, he's one of those guys that, again, what he needs to do is because once he becomes an elite practice player, I'm telling you, his Saturdays are going to absolutely take off. And they are getting better. And so, no, we're obviously very pleased with his progression. And he's got to have, some good practices over the next 2 weeks, so we continue to have faith and trust him that he's going to give us that quality work on game days. But you saw the ball skills tonight. I mean, that's a little bit different than maybe what you see out of most DBs.
Thanks.
Okay, let's go to John Hoover.
Hey, Alex, the offense has been carrying the water here at Oklahoma for a number of years. To have them kind of, scuffling a little bit tonight, and you guys defensively carry the game like you did, perform like you did, even with all the challenges that you faced personnel-wise. Is that kind of what you envisioned? Is that kind of what you dreamed about when getting the defense to finally come around to that level?
Yeah, I think there's a number of different benchmarks, if you want to call them that you look towards, and I think the biggest thing that I would say is making sure that our performance becomes independent of the performance on offense. And one of the things that we've talked about in the past is you got the greatest get out of jail free card if you're willing to use it. When you have an elite offense like we have, and there's no doubt about it. You can tell me whatever struggles they had tonight, and there's a lot more quality football than that, and so we know what we have on the other side of the ball, and so you in so many ways you got to make sure you're an independent contractor. Certainly, we're their number one fans on Saturday. They frustrated us over the course of the week, but we also got to obviously build off each other, in terms of working to get better on a day in and day out basis from a practice standpoint. But I've said it a number of times. I think we've talked about we don't score touchdowns. And so what we can't turn into is, we use the phrase, don't be a fan. What we can't do is, why isn't the offense, why didn't they score the last possession? That is 100% not in our control. And if they score 48 points, it's still us on film, right? That is charged with getting defensive stops. And no one made us play defense. No one's made us coach defense. This is what we chose. Are there challenges? Sure, certainly that there are. But just making sure, as much as it's team, you got to keep that level of ownership in your own performance. And so, again, I think that's something that we continue to work towards, and these guys have really embraced.
Thanks, Alex.
Sure.
Okay, last question, Keegan Renaud.
Yeah, Alex, you touched on it a second ago with talking about the defense needed to live up to their standard this week, even with a tough week. Do you feel like this defense is living up to that standard this week, the last 3, 4, 5 weeks? I know we've asked you that a lot, but it just seems like this group has really taken off. You know what? The expectation, I think, has changed a little bit, and I think part of that, and maybe most of that, stems from the expectation of the players, not the coaches. When it becomes the expectation of the players to play at a certain level, to produce at a certain level, because that ultimately is a critical aspect of things, and then you have the coaches just supplementing that. And from an encouraging standpoint, and obviously from a critical standpoint a lot of times as well. But it's not us, constantly, creating that. That conversation saying that our expectation is this, and you got eyeballs staring back at you like, well, coach, do we really need to be this? Isn't there a different way? That's going to be really, really hard to do on a consistent basis. There's got to be another way, right? And what we're seeing right now, and again, you're 1 week away from going the other direction. That's college football. But in any event, what you're seeing now is you're seeing the guys holding each other to the higher standard, and again, instead of the coaches simply being the kind of the demanding of it. So no, been pleased with that progression.
All right, thank you, Alex.
Okay, thank y'all.